Hey, you. Yes, you. Close the door. Turn off the lights.
Let the world shrink to just us. I'm going to speak so close you'll feel my breath on your cheek, because this story is too heavy for open air. It's about a promise made in a hospital at 2:17 a.m., a twin brother who died in my arms, and the life I wore like a second skin until it became my own. You'll feel the cold tile under my bare feet, the burn of a lie in my throat, the first time silk touched my legs and I didn't flinch. If you've ever loved someone so fiercely you'd trade your identity to keep their dreams breathing, stay.
Feel every heartbeat. Let's begin where everything shattered.
The hospital hallway was a tunnel of buzzing white light and antiseptic sting. I'd been pacing so long my sneakers squeaked like accusations.
2:17 a.m.
The doctor emerged, white coat, clipboard, eyes hollowed by too many deaths. "Miss Carver," he said, voice flat as a morgue slab, "your brother has ours. The infection's winning."
Ethan. My twin. My mirror since the womb. 24 years old and already fading. I shoved past the nurses into his room.
Machines hissed like angry snakes. Tubes snaked into his arms, his neck, his chest. His skin was translucent, veins blue rivers under rice paper. But his eyes, our eyes, moss green and sharp even in agony, found me. "Alex," he rasped, voice dry leaves scraping concrete. I grabbed his hand, bones sharp enough to cut glass. "Promise me," he whispered, grip tightening with the last of his strength.
"Live my life too. The parts one won't get. Wear it for me.
Don't let it die with me."
I thought he meant memories. His leather jacket. His half-finished canvases. "I'll wear the jacket, Ethan. I'll eat your gross kale chips. I'll finish your stupid Paris sketchbook. Anything." But his eyes locked on mine, fierce even as his body failed. "All of it. Swear." The monitors spiked, wild, frantic. I swore, on Mom's grave, on every twin's secret whispered under blankets, on the scar we both had from falling off the same bike at age 7. "I promise." He smiled, small, crooked, "Ethan." Then his hand went limp. The flat line screamed. I screamed louder. Nurses pinned me down. Sedation burned cold in my veins. I woke to his sketchbook in my lap. Page after page. Parisian rooftops at dusk, a tiny apartment with ivy choking the windows, and her, Camille. Dark curls, freckles like cinnamon sugar, a smile that looked like sunrise after a storm. Final page, his handwriting looping like smoke. "Wear my life, Alex. Start with her." I stared until the words blurred into tears. Then I slipped on his leather jacket. It smelled of turpentine, hospital antiseptic, and the ghost of his laugh. In the window's reflection, I saw him, same cheekbones, same mouth. But softer. Feminine. The curse took root. The funeral was a blur of black umbrellas and pity casseroles. I wore his hoodie until it smelled more like my grief than his cologne. Family hovered like anxious moths. Aunt Lila pressed lasagna into my hands. "Eat, honey. Ethan would want you strong." Cousins whispered behind hands. They were inseparable. How will she cope without him? Dad stared at the floor. Mom cried into paper napkins until they disintegrated. Work was a crime scene. My graphic design desk, usually a chaos of Wacom tablets and coffee stains, felt like a museum of before. Colleagues tiptoed. "Take all the time you need, Alex." But deadlines loomed like storm clouds. I stared at mock-ups while Ethan's voice echoed in my skull. "Wear my life." At night, I'd trace his sketches, Camille's face in charcoal, her name signed in the corner like a brand. My fingers left smudges on the paper, as if I could erase the promise. Social life collapsed into a graveyard of invitations. Friends dragged me to bars. "Ethan would want you to live." They clinked glasses of cheap beer. I smiled with teeth that didn't feel like mine. One night, a mutual friend clapped my back too hard. "You look just like him sometimes." Spooky. Laughter rippled. I excused myself to the bathroom and vomited bile and grief into the sink. Then the plane ticket arrived, non-refundable, Paris CDG, Ethan James Carver. My name too, technically. I called the airline, voice shaking like a leaf in a hurricane. "Can I change it?" "No." But identical twins slipped through cracks. Grief makes you reckless. I stood in our shared bathroom at 3 a.m., scissors trembling in my hand. Snip. Snip. Long auburn locks fell into the sink like blood. I shaved my legs for the first time, razor-nicking skin,
blood beating like tiny accusations. Bound my chest with ace bandages until breathing was a negotiation. Practiced his slouch in the mirror, shoulders broader, hips still. Packed his clothes, his sketchbook, his cologne, sandalwood and paint thinner. Boarded the plane with a duffel bag and a heart full of lies. As the wheels lifted, embarrassment burned hotter than jet fuel. What if security questions the photo?
The gender marker?
They didn't. The curse had teeth now, and it was biting. Paris smelled of warm croissants, rain on cobblestones, and possibility. Camille waited at arrivals, yellow raincoat bright as a sunflower, sign reading Ethan, love, in glitter pen.
My knees buckled.
She was smaller than photos, 5 feet 4 inches maybe, curls escaping a knit beret like dark vines. When she saw me, saw him, her face exploded with light. Mon Dieu, you're real.
She launched into my arms.
Vanilla.
Rain.
Her heart beat against my bound chest like a trapped bird.
I froze.
She pulled back, cupped my face with paint-stained fingers. I missed you so much.
Her thumb brushed my cheekbone. I couldn't speak. I'm not him. But the promise choked the truth down like a pill too big to swallow.
She dragged me to the metro, chattering in rapid French about the apartment she'd found for us, the art supply store with the perfect sable brushes, the cafe where Hemingway supposedly wrote a movable feast. I nodded, smiled Ethan's crooked smile, practiced in airplane bathrooms until my jaw ached. Let her lace her fingers through mine.
Her hand was warm.
Mine was ice. The apartment was a dream on the 3rd floor, creaky wooden stairs, sunshine yellow walls, easels everywhere. For your art, she said, spinning me until I was dizzy. Ethan's sketches taped like wallpaper, cityscapes, nudes, her face in a dozen moods. One framed on the wall, him laughing on a video call, pixelated but alive.
I stared until my eyes burned and the room tilted.
First night, cock AUVIN simmering, candlelight flickering on wine glasses. You're quieter than on calls, she said, sliding into my lap.
Jet lag. I nodded.
She kissed me, soft, tasting of herbs and hope.
I kissed back because Ethan would have. Because the promise demanded it.
In bed, under string lights that looked like captured stars, I undressed in shadows, keeping the binder on. Her hands explored gently, tracing collarbones, freckles, the scar on my shoulder from that bike fall.
We moved like strangers pretending to be lovers.
When she fell asleep curled against me, her breath warm on my neck, I whispered to the ceiling, I'm sorry.
To whom, I wasn't sure.
Days became performance. I wore his flannel shirts, paint-splattered jeans, the leather jacket that still smelled faintly of hospital.
Enrolled in his art classes at École des Beaux-Arts.
Faked his loose, confident strokes. Professors praised Ethan's improvement post-remission.
Camille beamed like I'd hung the moon.
But alone, while she worked at the tiny bookstore on Rue Saint-André-des-Arts, I explored. Started small. Loosened the binder until I could breathe fully. Let my hair grow past my chin, soft waves that caught the light differently. Bought women's cotton panties, simple, white, nothing flashy, and wore them under his boxers. The softness against my skin was a secret rebellion, a whisper of Alex. One morning, she caught me staring at her makeup bag on the bathroom counter. Want to try? She asked, playful. My heart stuttered like a broken metronome. Ethan would laugh it off. But I was tired of performing. Sure, I said, voice barely above a whisper. She sat me on the toilet lid, the porcelain cold against my thighs. Foundation cool and creamy on my cheeks. Eyeliner sharp as a blade. You have such pretty lashes, she murmured, brushing mascara through them. In the mirror, Alex. Not Ethan. Not fully. But me. I breathed, really breathed, for the first time since the hospital. She shrugged when I stared too long. Artists experiment with everything. Even faces. Seed planted. I bought my own lipstick the next day, deep berry, matte, in a gold tube. Wore it when she was gone. Practiced her walk in the apartment, heels clicking on hardwood, hips swaying naturally. Spritzed her perfume, jasmine and something green. Tried on her silk robe, the fabric sliding over my skin like water. Sensory overload, nylon stockings gliding up shaved legs, earrings tugging gently at lobes, blush warming my cheeks like embarrassment made visible. Internal dialogue raced. This is wrong. This is theft. This is mine. Hours vanished. I created looks in the full-length mirror by the window. Casual day, jeans, blouse, subtle liner, evening glam, little black dress, smoky eyes, red lips.
Each one peeled back a layer of the curse.
Shame flickered. What as she walked in?
But the door stayed locked.
The spark grew into a flame. Spring thawed into summer, and the lie grew teeth. Outings with Camille became testing grounds. Café terraces on Boulevard Saint-Germain, picnics along the Seine where ducklings followed us for crumbs. Dressed as Ethan, jeans, flannel, leather jacket, I held her hand. Confidence crept in like sunrise.
Strangers nodded hello.
Street vendors flirted mildly. Beautiful couple. I laughed Ethan's laugh, but it started to sound like mine. Art classes became my sanctuary. I painted feverishly, grief pouring into color, ochres and indigos, faces melting into cityscapes. Professors raved. Carvers evolved since the remission. Such passion. Camille planned a gallery show, my forgeries presented as his.
I smiled until my face cracked like old paint. Small rebellions grew bolder.
Wore her cotton sundress when alone, yellow with tiny white flowers, hem brushing mid-thigh. Twirled in the living room, feeling the fabric lift and settle. Enrolled in a figure drawing class as Alex, no explanation, just a new name on the roster.
Drew nudes with my own curves, my own softness.
The professor, a wiry woman with a streak of blue in her hair, nodded approval. Bold transition.
Keep going. Weekends became adventures. Markets in Montmartre where old men played accordions.
Bookshops with dusty poetry and cats on ladders. I wore subtle makeup under his clothes, tinted moisturizer, gloss, a hint of blush. Camille noticed. You glow today.
Didn't question.
Evenings, we'd dance in the apartment to old jazz records, her head on my shoulder, my hands on her waist. Internal shift. Comfort in the role, but a yearning for truth that gnawed like hunger. One night, drunk on cheap rosé from the corner store, I confessed part of it. I'm not who you think, I slurred, wine staining my lips. She laughed, kissed my temple. You're my Ethan. That's enough. The words were a blade straight to the heart.
But the experiments continued.
I bought my own clothes. Simple skirts, soft sweaters, a pair of low heels that didn't wobble.
Wore them in the apartment like armor.
Painted my nails a soft pink, then removed it before she came home. The duality was exhausting, but exhilarating. I was becoming a mosaic. Pieces of Ethan, pieces of Alex, pieces I hadn't named yet.
The gallery show loomed like a guillotine.
Tension coiled tighter than the binder I still wore under dress shirts. Lies piled like wet paint, thick, suffocating. I painted until my fingers bled, channeling grief into canvases that weren't mine to sign. Then the letter came, official envelope, American stamps, Ethan James Carver in block letters.
From his doctor. Estate business. Please return to the States.
Inside, medical records, insurance forms, and a final note in his handwriting, folded small enough to hide in a wallet.
If you're reading this, I'm gone. Thank you for keeping your promise. But Alex, live your life now. I release you.
Burn the jacket if you have to.
Just be free.
The paper shook in my hands like a leaf in a storm.
Release.
But the curse was woven too deep into my bones. Camille found me on the floor, sobbing into the sketchbook. What is it, mon cœur?
Her voice cracked.
I showed her everything. The letter, the plane ticket, the binder I'd hidden in the closet.
Her face crumpled like wet paper. You're
Alex.
The name sounded foreign in her mouth.
Confrontation exploded. Tears, accusations, wine glasses shattering against the wall.
You lied.
Every kiss, every touch, stolen.
I mourned a ghost while you wore his skin.
I braced for her to leave, to call me a monster.
Instead, she knelt, cupped my face with trembling hands. I knew something was off. Your hands shake when you lie. The way you flinch at your own reflection.
But I loved you anyway, whoever you are. Relief and terror collided like waves.
I wore his life, I whispered, voice raw.
Like he asked.
I didn't know how to stop.
She kissed me, slow, deliberate, tasting of salt and forgiveness. Then let's unwear it together.
Pivotal choice, flee in shame or burn the mask.
I chose fire. We dragged the binder, the men's clothes, the plane ticket to the courtyard.
Lit a match. Sparks rose like freed souls into the Parisian night.
We started small, but deliberate. She cut my hair into a soft bob, layers framing my face like a frame around a painting. Burned the binder in the courtyard.
the smoke smelling of liberation.
I wore her dresses daily, cotton sundresses with tiny flowers, then silk slips that slid over my skin like water. She taught me French curses and how to walk in heels without wobbling. Heel toe, like you're walking on a tightrope of confidence.
Enrolled in classes as Alexandra Carver.
My art flourished. Bold, feminine lines, colors that screamed truth. The gallery kept my new work, A. Carver, Untitled Series. Critics raved. A revelation. A rebirth. Camille's love transformed. Kisses now for me, for the woman who emerged from the ashes. Community found us, queer artists in smoky cafes, trans poets reading under fairy lights, late-night conversations about names and bodies and chosen families.
Dad called from the States, voice thick. I saw your exhibition online. Proud of you, kid.
Both of you. Mom sent care packages, lavender soap, a scarf she knitted herself. Confidence soared. Solo exhibitions, a feature in Vogue France, love unmasked and unafraid. The curse became blessing, Ethan's courage woven into my spine.
1 year later, Pont des Arts at sunset.
I wore a red dress, the same shade as my first secret lipstick. Camille slipped a silver ring on my finger, engraved inside, "Wear your life." "Marry me, Alex," she said, curls catching the golden light.
"Not him. You."
I cried into her neck, vanilla and rain and home.
"Yes. 1,000 times yes."
Now, when people ask how we met, I tell the truth, most of it he promised me a life. I lived it until I found my own.
The curse is broken.
The promise remains, transformed into permission. I wear his courage, her love, my truth. If you carry someone else's promise like chains, hear me, vows can be rewritten. Lives shared, not stolen. Wear what fits, your skin, your heart, your name. You're free.
And so am I.